and welcome to another week in our garden. Very hot garden. Had some wonderful sunny days, but I'm afraid no rain yet. It will rain eventually, I'm sure. Now, as you remember, this week we're giving you the grand tour, greenhouse to greenhouse. And then next week we'll do the planters on the front of the house with you and get those done. And I've a little bit of pruning to do on the lilac, but we'll put that off for next week. So let's show you what we've got this week. We're going to start in the bottom greenhouse, as you can see. Now, what I've actually done in here, I've lowered all the stagings down so I can put the peppers on the shelf, and then as they grow up, the tops will be in the sun and the feet, if you like, or the roots, will be a little bit cooler below. I've put them all in trays, and they are gravel trays, but I couldn't get the gravel, so they've had to have sand. But it's working quite well, and I only water from the top and let the water find its way down into the sand. So we'll show you what we've got. These are the sweet peppers. As you can see, there's quite a few of them. There's red and yellow in there. Some, like this one, wanted stopping, but it's breaking itself naturally, so I'm leaving it. And then we'll put a cane in, and that'll be just here. If I need to space them a little bit more, I have a couple of foot at the ends where I can slide the trays along on the new shelving. But this is the summer shelving. When we come to winter again, we'll lift it back up. There's some more peppers along here, and then when you get to here, these are the Apache, which are chili peppers. And those two are in smaller pots because I was running out of pots this year, so I've had to use 5 litre pots where I would prefer them in 10s. Another pepper, that's in a nice big pot. These peppers here are the late set, so when they get a little bit bigger I'll pot those up so we can go into autumn still with peppers. These are the chili peppers again. That one is that's a yellow, and then I've got a couple of aubergines in here doing quite well. That one was stopped, and that one wants stopping, I believe. No, it's breaking, so we'll leave that one, but there will need canes in because these will get quite heavy. Now, when I was doing the top greenhouse, I spaced the tomatoes out and found I had 3 too many, so I brought them down here and put them again on the sand trays. They seem to be quite happy in here, they're doing quite well. I have painted the floor while they had it half empty anyway, and I'm afraid the only floor paint I had in the shed was this light grey. Now when I can get out and about, I'll buy some more of the same brand so I can then darken it a little. I think we need more of a slate grey, or perhaps a bit darker than that. This is far too light. It takes a lot of keeping clean, but it's also reflecting a lot of light, so it's one way or the other. Now, we bought these trays online from IKEA. They're actually trays that you put inside your front door and put your wet and dirty shoes on, but they're ideal for gravel trays. They're very strong and they'll last a few years. The trouble with the ones I got from the DIY store, they're so flimsy. And when it was my neighbour who showed me these, and of course we sent some straight away. Ideal tray, very good. I've just stood them on boxes just to keep them level, and as I say, I filled them with sand and they're doing a wonderful job. Right, so we'll go out and start making our way up the garden. Just outside the greenhouse in this frame where we hardened up all the vegetable plants. They've now gone. So I've turned the soil a little and I've put the peanuts in there so that in the evening or at night I can close the top, and that will keep the pigeons out. The rhubarb, we have picked some, but as you can see it's feeling the heat of the day at the moment. So if we want to pick it, we have to pick late evening or early morning when it's more turrid from overnight. The Turk's turban are settling down well. I do water them once a day, usually first thing in the morning, and they have no problem with those. In this other frame we have a few lettuce nearly ready on this side and some radish, and then the next radish has been set at the far back, which was only set yesterday, so that'll be a while. And then in the other side we have red and green, then they're all little gem. Again, I've already set the seed of both of these, so they'll follow on from these. The Swiss chard is suffering a little bit in the heat of the day, but again, if we need to pick some, we'll do it morning rather than in hot sun. The beetroot is actually coming strength to strength. It's really doing well. It's really enjoying the sunshine. Very pleased with the beetroot. There looks a lot there, but we need 1 year's supply. Now in this little strip what we've got left over here, we had some aubergines left, so I put those in, and one of the chili peppers. We'll find something else to fill the line. The peas and beans, I did water them this morning in the early, well, first light really, and they're settling down nicely. The peas are actually doing better than the beans, but I noticed the beans have just started to send the runners out, so they won't be long. The garlic is, as you can see, is just beginning now to go yellow. We have a few scapes on that line, none on these lines, but they're definitely on their way down, so we'll be harvesting soon. We'll let them go a bit more yellow than that, obviously, and then we'll harvest them and see what we got. The leeks we planted are settling down nicely. They don't like this hot weather. They're a cold weather plant, so they're struggling a little bit, but they'll be fine. The celery is going from strength to strength at the far end. I'm very pleased with that. Under these two frames we have some rocket under one and some pak choi under the others. There was a little bit of an afterthought, but they'll be fine. They're taking a bit of looking after watering wise. I've got to protect them because the pigeons will like them. These are the onions that we've grown from seed. As you can see, they're standing well, they're doing fine. Over there, they're the spring onions. They're guardsmen, they're standing well, and I've just set a row behind them. And again, I've put more seed in to follow on. I'm trying with the onions to do them a little bit different, so if it works, I'll show you. And if it doesn't, we'll carry on as we were. The broad beans are now carrying some lovely beans, they'll be fine. There's plenty on there what we'll ever want, and it goes right down the row. They've done very well to say what wind they've had hitting them. Now these are the tomato beds. The canes have arrived. I've done this end, I've still got that end to do, but remember we'll only bring them up to here anyway. 4 trusses and then we stop them. I've had a few more bottles arrive, so I've got those in. It does make life a lot easier. I can do quite a few tomatoes with the 2 big cans full, and I can actually put the feed in as well, so it's a lot easier with the bottles. These are a few more of the tomatoes. These are Roma, so these will be grown as bushes. You could probably keep these canes in if we wish, because they won't get much more than that high, but they'll be actually covered in fruit. Fruit's very heavy, that one. Now this is the sweet corn, which is actually flint corn. I've had a lot of comments about it, but Gemma said she knew what it was when she bought it, but she didn't actually tell me. Luckily, I grew some other sweet corn, so I've got 2 lots now. The only thing is, I planted them a bit close together, so I'm going to have to move one of them further away so they don't cross-pollinate. That is my job for this afternoon. This is this year's pumpkin patch. I've only got 2 bottles in there, but I do water the rest with a can, so they're coming on fine. If you notice, the sun is beginning to bleach the leaves a little, but they'll get over it when the weather breaks or cools a little. The squashes on the frame are suffering a little bit in the heat, with them being young plants, but I've now got bottles in there so I can get plenty of water down to those roots, which helps. The sweet peas on the frame are doing quite well. They've got the feet down now. They had a bit of a problem with flea beetle, but they seem to have grown through it now, so they'll be okay. They'll soon be up there. We've even got nice flowers on. This is the celeriac that we were hopefully going to put in a tunnel, so I haven't got enough wood to build a tunnel at the moment. As soon as I get the wood, I'll put a tunnel over those to keep the celery fly off. Now these are the courgettes that are really suffering with the sun. I've even thought about putting a fleece over them, but that's not going to stop the heat, so we'll have to just keep watering them well and let them grow through it. And then those leaves that are yellowing, we'll take those off as the plant doesn't want them no more. We'll take them away. The potatoes are doing very well. They're all come through now and standing well. I noticed there's a couple of gaps, but I'm thinking that they might still come through. We'll have to wait and see. I've got some Nemaslug to put on these potatoes, but I'm waiting for the wet weather because I can't put it on until it's rained or going to rain. It's no good watering from the mains because it's not good for the nematodes themselves, so we'll wait for the rain and I'll work in the rain and put them all in, and then hopefully the rain will wash them in and we'll stop the slugs eating the potatoes. All the brassicas in the frames are doing very well. I am giving them quite a bit of water because I don't want the cauliflowers to run to seed. They're all doing well. Even that late kale we put in is picking up. It does want weeding in there, but I don't want to take the covers off for too long if I can help it. The red cabbage has gone from strength to strength. Very pleased with that. They are really doing well. I don't know if you noticed, they're very clean because I did put quite a bit of coffee grounds on those. Green cabbage are coming along nicely now. I have had a problem in the brassica beds. Now I do have a problem in these brassica beds with the moles. They're really loose in the soil, so one night earlier this weekend, it was one night this weekend, they came down and I had to take the covers off and press all the soil back in to keep the cabbages etc. on a firm footing. The summer carrots aren't doing quite as well as I'd like. Could be the weather, it could be the seed, I don't know, but it really wants me to take this cover off and get those weeds out, and I'll probably thin them a little bit, or then again I might leave them and just take the bigger ones out, so by thinning that way. The parsnips have all come up bar 1 or 2 in the middle, but that's fine. And then there's a little bit of radish here that, a little bit of radish there, that's ready, that can be harvested a little bit now. And then there was a few beetroot left, so I just filled that space up with them. The Brussels sprouts are doing very well in this big tunnel. The only trouble was the wind has blown my sticky traps off, so I'll have to go in and re-put those up. Now we're in the fruit cage now. We'll just show you how the strawberries are coming along. But first I'll just show you the mulberry that Gemma bought me. Look Gemma, it is actually growing. I told you it was dead, but it seems to have come to life this last couple of weeks. So it looks like next winter we'll have to wrap that up with some fleece. Now that's the mulberry's come back to life. It's been resurrected. So that means we'll probably have some mulberries in about 5 years. The strawberries haven't done too bad this year. The early ones haven't done very well at all. As you can see, there's quite a few on them. And we've had a few of them. This year I'm going to remove any and all the runners that come on the strawberries. I think last year we had a lot of runners and so they haven't done so well. So no runners this year, so we can build the plant up a little. It's either that or this awful spring we've had where it was too wet and then too dry. But they are tasting well. The late strawberries at the back here are doing very, very well. They're just coming into flower now because they'll be the second flush, if you like, after these. So we need to build these early ones up a bit so that they look like that for next season. We'll get a massive crop off them. The earlies this side are covered in fruit, but they're just not got the strength on the plant, so that's what we've got to build up. And by taking these off, these runners as they come, that will stop it from wasting its energy producing these where we want it producing bigger plant. These are the early raspberries. As you can see, they've all got fruits on now, but you want to watch out for these new canes coming up. These are next year's crop, so when these are finished, remove those and then tie those in. There should be quite a few of those come up. There's a few breaking the soil at the bottom, but want to see loads and loads of big strong canes coming up. We're going to have a good crop off them. If you can remember how we stopped the canes, that once they've been bent over and tied in, we stopped them, and that's produced all these side shoots that you can see with the fruit on. I think Diane's looking forward to picking the raspberries because that's one of her favourites. The late raspberries, they're growing well. These are the ones we replaced last year because they didn't go, and they come in, they're steady, but we'll be alright with them if we just crop that end this year. And then these are the dwarf beans we put in just to try and get a quick crop out of them, but I'm afraid a mole went in one end and came out the other, so I had the whole lot to replant. Them moles are getting a nuisance, so if anybody's got any ideas how to get them to move on, I'd like to know. Currants, black currant, red currants, white currants, the gooseberry bushes, both red and green, all doing well. But what they really need, by looking at especially the gooseberries, a good couple of days of rain. I keep irrigating them, but that water is not so good as rainwater. Rainwater's nice and soft and it really boosts them up. As you can see, the fruit's there, but we really need that water to swell those berries up now. The blueberry's doing rather well. I'm very pleased with that. It's absolutely covered with fruit. Obviously green at the moment, but it's going to be a good crop. What we will do, as they're ripening, we'll put one of those insect nets over them inside the frame to keep the flies and the wasps off, because they really set to with those last year, so we're ready for them this year. For those that don't know about this blackberry, it sort of arrived. We didn't set it. We had no real need to grow a blackberry, but it set itself from somewhere. It must have been the birds must have brought the seed in, and it's thornless. It has a fantastic crop of very, very large berries, but that's all we know about it. And it's a very strong grower, and believe me, they do not taste nice. But same again, what we'll do is when the fruits are nearly ripened, we'll put an insect mesh over it as well, and then lift that to harvest and then put it back down again. Just have a look at the grapes and the old chickens. I've still got 4 that are broody. Right, while we're passing, I'll just show you the compost bins. As you can see, I've mowed the lawn this morning, so this one's quite full. And then what I'll do is I'll let it settle a little bit. It'll settle a long way yet before, and in about 2 weeks time, this one will be lifted and put into that one. So it turns it into that bin. This bin, I put all the waste compost in. When we're doing the pots and the troughs around the house, I put them all into here, and then that can be taken down and dug into the root beds that were ready for next year. This is the manure bin. It's filling up. It's about half full, but that'll soon go down. And what I do, when I put a layer in of about a foot, and then I put a layer of old straw in, and then put the next layer on and let it go down. This will all be ready for digging in this next winter. This is the leaf mould bin. It is rotting down steady. It takes a year, so there's no rush. We just put a cover on it and leave it to get on with it. It was full, and now we're on half full, so you need a lot of leaves to make some compost. Now, I don't know if you can remember, this is that grapevine that's about a year old now. So next week when we're filming, I'm going to prune a lot of this off, because we don't want all those going up there. We want about 2 going up and then the canopy on the top. So next week we'll prune that, and I'll show you how I do it. Likewise the other vine that I'll show you. Now, as you can see, we have a full canopy with the crazy vine. You can see how much growth that from a bud. If you take this one, that's 24 inches in the first week or so. It's also beginning to show flower now. So once all the flowers on, we'll go round and we'll remove some of them, because we'll get a better crop then. Now you see here, look, this one, it's trying to get into the tool shed. So all this needs trimming back. We'll do that next week. We've still got 1, 2, 3 broody and 1 that is just coming off broody. What we do is just let it take its natural course. It gives them a bit of a rest. And that one in there, you can tell the broody, look, when the cones have all turned orangey colour instead of red. Now, this is the chicken garden, as you know, and I've cut the hedge, and the only problem with the chicken garden is we cannot put any sort of summer bedding or anything in. If I was to put bedding plants, etc., into this chicken garden, they eat the flowers and dig the plants up, so anything we put in has to be quite a size. But it is their garden. As you can see, there's one having a bath in the flower bed now. They like the dust bath. It's strange that we can have all the lovely daffodils and they don't touch those. They do tend to bulldoze through them a bit, but they don't touch them. But as soon as you put anything flowering wise, like a bedding plant, they totally annihilate them. But it's their garden. I don't cut the grass any shorter than what it is now. I cut it this morning. I keep it on number 5 all the time, so they've got something to peck at now and again. And then in the winter months, if you remember, they have the full run of the garden then, so you don't see them up this end. They're down on what was the vegetable patch. Now we'll pop round and we'll see what I've been up to in the top greenhouse. Now we've made our way up to the top greenhouse. This is the old greenhouse, and there's a cucumber ready that Di says she wants, so I haven't got my secateurs with me, so I've had to just nip in the house and get some scissors to cut it off. It's right at the back, hanging down the back. It's this one here. We'll take that one. This one's coming along. And can you see this one that's actually growing into the compost? Well, we don't want that one, I don't think. Get rid of that. This one will be fine, look, because it can grow through, but that one will be dragging in the compost. There you are. It's got a few scratches on it, but that's because of the box. But that's fine. It's a good weight. I'll pass that to Diane and we'll have a look what else we've got on there. We've got quite a few still coming. You can see them. That's going to be a nice one there, look. Some more here. And the top is now running off the frame. So I might put another frame across at the top. I have got one that we can put on top of there. Now I don't know if you remember, the bottom greenhouse is at the top right, and it's got a cover around the outside. This one I should just put a heavy duty fleece on top, which will stop a lot of this sun coming through and burning the leaves. That's if they get that far, they'll come over a little. But the amount of tomatoes we've got in the bottom, but remember there won't be a lot down there. I'm always asked what feed I use. Well, this is it. It's Green Future organic tomato fertiliser. I give about 30 ml to a gallon of water. And I do actually water in here twice a day. I watered this morning, and if you look at the tomato tops, the tops of the pots are beginning to dry out a bit. So they'll be getting another drink in about an hour. While this hot weather is with us, what I do, I put 2 cans of water on the floor when I've watered them to give that evaporation. So while it's evaporating, it's cooling the air a little. But when I put the fleece across the top, it'll be quite pleasant in here. That's another job for tomorrow. Now, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed our tour. He's with us when we set the seed and put the plants in. And now we'll show you how we look after them, and then hopefully be able to film harvesting. So thank you for being with us. Many, many thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We do appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.